I never thought betrayal would feel like this, like a slow, cold knife twisting deeper every time you breathe. Hi, I'm Daniel, 36M. 3 years ago, my wife Melissa almost died from acute kidney failure. Doctors said she had months to live without a transplant. Without hesitation, I got tested. I was a match. It wasn't even a question for me. I loved her. I loved the life we had built, a modest home in North Carolina, 2 amazing kids, Ethan, 16M, and Sophie, 14F, 2 goofy golden retrievers, messy weekends at soccer games, movie nights on the couch. Melissa was the center of all of it. We weren't perfect. There were late nights at her job, sometimes arguments about money or parenting. But I thought that was just marriage, real, imperfect, but grounded in love. The surgery was brutal. Recovery was worse. But seeing her alive, healthy, laughing again, it was worth every scar on my body. I thought we were stronger than ever. At least, that's what I believed. Until I stumbled across the first crack in the perfect picture. It was a Thursday night. I was looking for Sophie's missing laptop in Melissa's car when I found a receipt, 2 dinners, champagne, a hotel suite, from a city 3 hours away. On a night she had claimed she was working late. At first, I thought, no. There has to be an explanation. I wanted so badly to believe that. God, I wanted to. But I was wrong. Dead wrong. I didn't confront Melissa right away. Instead, I shoved the receipt into my pocket and walked back into the house, my mind spinning. The rest of the night was a blur, Ethan complaining about homework, Sophie giggling at some stupid TikTok video, Melissa pouring herself a glass of wine like nothing in the world was wrong. I smiled. I laughed. I died inside. Over the next few days, I started noticing things I had never paid attention to before. Melissa was glued to her phone more than usual. She would disappear into the bedroom to take work calls for hours. She changed the password on her phone, something she had never done in 15 years of marriage. I told myself it was just me being paranoid. That I was traumatized after everything we'd been through. That she loved me. But doubt is a parasite. It burrows into your brain and feasts on your hope until nothing is left but raw fear. One evening, after Melissa had gone to grab groceries, I sat down with Ethan and Sophie in the living room. Hey, I said casually, have you guys noticed Mom acting different lately? Ethan's eyes darted away instantly. Sophie picked at the hem of her hoodie. I mean, she's been busy, Sophie mumbled. Work's been crazy, right? Yeah, Dad, Ethan said too quickly. It's just work. It was the way they said it, rehearsed. Mechanical. Not the natural defensiveness of kids loyal to a parent, no, this was something else. Like they were trying to protect her. Or protect themselves. That night, while Melissa slept, I opened her laptop. It was wrong. I knew it. But when someone you gave a piece of your body to starts locking you out of their life, you stop playing fair. The laptop was mostly clean, suspiciously clean, except for a hidden folder buried 3 layers deep under random file names. Inside. Screenshots. Photos. Chats. Melissa, laughing over drinks with a man I recognized immediately, Kevin. My best friend since college. The godfather to our son. I scrolled, numb, through message after message, jokes, flirtation, explicit promises, plans to sneak away when I was busy with the kids. It wasn't a one-time mistake. It was a full-blown affair. And it had been going on for over a year. A year that included my surgery. A year that included me lying in a hospital bed, bleeding, while she was sneaking off to hotel rooms. I closed the laptop and sat there in the dark for a long time, staring at the blank TV screen. The betrayal cut deeper than anything I'd ever felt. But what truly broke me, what hollowed me out, was realizing my kids knew. They had helped cover for her. I didn't want to believe it. I couldn't believe it. But the pieces were starting to fit too perfectly. The sudden loyalty to Mom's busy schedule. The way they always knew exactly when to distract me or pull me away when Melissa disappeared. The awkwardness when I asked questions. They had been part of it. And that night, sitting alone in our living room, I realized. I hadn't just lost a wife. I had lost a family. The next morning, I decided to set a trap. I needed the truth, raw, ugly, undeniable. Not guesses. Not paranoia. Real answers. When Melissa left for a staff meeting on Saturday, I called Ethan and Sophie into the kitchen. I tried to keep my voice calm. Steady. Hey, I was thinking, I said, setting a mug of coffee in front of each of them, maybe we could surprise Mom this weekend. They both stiffened, almost imperceptibly. A little getaway, I continued, acting casual. Just the four of us. Cabin by the lake. No phones. Just family. Ethan's face went pale. Sophie dropped her spoon with a loud clatter. That sounds nice, Sophie said after a long beat, her voice way too high. Yeah, Ethan echoed hollowly. Good, I said, smiling like a shark. Because I already booked it. Their eyes widened. It's non-refundable, I added smoothly. We leave Friday. I made sure Mom's calendar was clear. Neither of them said a word. But the panic was almost visible. I leaned back in my chair, folded my arms, and said, Is there anything you two want to tell me? Dead silence. Sophie bit her lip so hard I thought she'd bleed. Ethan stared at the floor like it might open up and swallow him whole. Finally, Ethan cracked. Look, Dad, it's complicated, he muttered. Complicated, I repeated, my voice flat. Mom, she was going through a lot, Sophie whispered. And that makes it okay? I said quietly. Sophie's hands shook as she tried to wipe away tears that hadn't even fallen yet. We didn't want to hurt you, Ethan blurted. We thought, if we kept it quiet, it would blow over. She promised it would stop. She promised, I repeated, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. She said she owed Kevin her life, Sophie said, her voice trembling. Because he helped pay for some of your surgery costs. When insurance wouldn't cover everything. I froze. What are you talking about? I demanded. Sophie broke. Through broken sobs, she explained. Melissa had lied to me. She had told me our insurance covered my surgery fully. In truth, we had outstanding medical bills, and Kevin had helped cover part of them. That's how it started. That's how he got into her head. Into her life. Into her bed. She felt indebted to him. At least, that's what she told the kids when they found out. She spun it as something noble. Sacrificial. And my kids, God bless their terrified teenage hearts, believed her. They helped her lie to me. They kept her secret because they thought it was protecting the family. Because she told them if I found out, I would leave, and it would break us all apart. They chose her lies over my truth. In that moment, something inside me, something bright and pure and good, withered and died. I stood up from the table. Ethan flinched like I might hit him. Sophie just sobbed harder. I need some air, I said hoarsely. And I walked out the front door. Not slamming it. Not raging. Just walking. Because if I stayed, I was afraid of what I might say. Or worse, what I might not. I drove around for hours. No destination. No music. Just me, the road, and the gaping hole where my life used to be. By the time I came back, the sun was setting. Melissa's car was in the driveway. I stood outside for a long time, staring at the house we had built together. The flower beds she had planted. The porch swing we had hung with Ethan when he was 8. All of it felt like a set for a play I no longer belonged in. I stepped inside. The house was silent. Melissa was in the kitchen, wiping the already clean counter with mechanical movements. She looked up, her face tense, guarded. "You know," I said simply. Her hands froze. "I talked to the kids," I added. Her face crumpled for a split second, not guilt. Relief. Like someone who'd been holding her breath too long. She pulled out a chair, sat down heavily, and said, "I was going to tell you. I didn't know how." "How about starting with the truth?" I said coldly. She flinched. "I never meant to hurt you," she whispered. "It wasn't about love, Daniel. It was survival. I was terrified." "Terrified of what?" I snapped. "That I'd die. That I'd leave you alone with the kids." Tears welled in her eyes. "Terrified that I'd lose you, and terrified that I'd already lost you," she said brokenly. "When you got sick, everything fell apart. You were fading, and I was trying to be strong for the kids, for you, for everyone." I stared at her. "You think that justifies sleeping with my best friend?" "It didn't start like that," she said quickly. "Kevin, he was there. When you were in surgery, when you were in recovery, when I thought you might die, he was the only one who stayed. And I wasn't." I barked. "You were fighting for your life," she shouted back. "You weren't there. Not emotionally. Not for a long time before either. You were working insane hours, missing recitals, missing birthdays, you were already disappearing, Daniel." I felt like she had slapped me. "Everything I did for this family," I said, my voice low with rage. "Every overtime shift. Every sacrifice. Every late night. And I know that," she said, tears spilling down her face. "But I was alone. And he made me feel seen." The room spun. "So your answer to loneliness was betrayal?" "I thought it would end," she said desperately. "I told him it was over. I tried to fix it. But you didn't stop," I said, shaking my head. "You brought our kids into your lie. You poisoned them against me." "No," she cried. "I was trying to protect them." "Protect you? By lying? By turning them into accomplices?" She buried her face in her hands. "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "I'm so sorry." For a long moment, I just stood there. Watching the woman I had given everything to, my love, my trust, my health, crumble into a stranger. "I don't even know who you are anymore," I said finally. "Please," she whispered. "Don't leave. We'll fix this. I'll go to therapy. We'll go as a family." "You should have thought of that before you destroyed it," I said. The words came out cold. Final. And for the first time since this nightmare started, I knew something with complete clarity. I couldn't stay. Not here. Not with her. Not after everything. I didn't sleep that night. I just lay in our bed, no, her bed now, staring at the ceiling fan spinning slow, lazy circles, thinking about every moment that had brought me here. The laughter. The tears. The surgeries. The promises. All of it felt like it belonged to someone else's life. By morning, I had made my decision. I packed 2 duffel bags quietly. Just essentials, clothes, documents, the old photo album I couldn't bear to leave behind. When I zipped the last bag, Ethan stood in the doorway. His face was a battlefield, shame, fear, anger, regret. "You're leaving," he said hoarsely. "Yeah," I said. "For good." I hesitated. And in that pause, the weight of 1,000 broken hopes crushed down on both of us. "I can't live here anymore, Ethan," I said quietly. "Not after everything." He crossed his arms, his jaw trembling. "You're just gonna give up," he spat. On us? That hit harder than any punch could have. I didn't give up, I said, forcing my voice to stay steady. I fought. I fought harder than you'll ever know. For this family. For your mom. For you. Tears burned behind my eyes. But fighting for something doesn't mean you destroy yourself to keep it standing. Sophie appeared behind him, her face streaked with silent tears. I'm sorry, Daddy, she whispered. God, those words almost broke me. I know you are, sweetheart, I said, dropping the bag and pulling her into a hug. I know you thought you were doing the right thing. Ethan's voice cracked. We didn't want to lose everything. You lost me anyway, I said softly. And it wasn't cruel. It was just the truth. Melissa watched from the hallway, her face pale and hollow, clutching the banister like it was the only thing holding her up. I looked at her. Really looked. Not the woman I married. Not the woman I had sacrificed everything for. Just another stranger who had made choices I would never fully understand. I turned back to the kids. I love you both, I said. Nothing changes that. But we messed up, Sophie sobbed. Yes, I said honestly. And sometimes, love isn't enough to fix what's broken. It killed me to say it. But sugarcoating it wouldn't help them heal. I hoisted the bags onto my shoulders. Melissa stepped forward. Please, she said. Let's go to counseling. Let's try. Please. I shook my head. I can't be the only one fighting for us anymore. For a long moment, no one moved. No one breathed. Then I walked out the door. Into the sharp, cold morning air. Into the unknown. And as I pulled away from the house, I realized. This wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning. Starting over sounds romantic when you hear it in songs. In reality, it's cold, small, and terrifying. I rented a tiny one-bedroom apartment on the edge of town. The kind of place with buzzing fluorescent lights, thin walls, and a permanent smell of burnt coffee. It wasn't much. But it was mine. The first night there, I sat on the stained couch, staring at my 2 duffel bags on the floor, and thought. What the hell do I do now? I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just sat there. Empty. Days turned into weeks. I went to work. I came home. I slept. I repeated. The kids called a few times at first, tentative, guilty, confused. I answered every call, but I didn't rush back. I didn't promise things would ever be the same. Because they wouldn't. Melissa texted too. Long, rambling apologies. Please for a second chance. I read every message. And deleted them all without replying. Because forgiving someone is one thing. Letting them destroy you twice is another. Still, there were nights, long, lonely nights, when doubt gnawed at me. Was I abandoning my kids? Was I selfish for leaving? Was I punishing them for mistakes that weren't truly theirs? I wrestled with those questions in the dark, when no one else could see. And then, about a month after I left, I got a letter. Not a text. Not an email. A real, handwritten letter. From Ethan. It was 3 pages long. Apologizing. Explaining. Begging for a second chance, not for Melissa, not for the family, but for himself. He wrote about how scared they had been during my illness. How Melissa had painted Kevin as a hero who saved Dad's life when the bills piled up. How they had clung to that narrative because the alternative, that Mom was lying, that they were helping destroy everything, was too terrifying to face. He ended the letter with one line that broke me. I know you're hurt, Dad. You have every right to be. But if you ever have a little space left in your heart, I'll be waiting. I sat there with that letter in my hands for a long, long time. And for the first time since the night I found that receipt in Melissa's car, I cried. Ugly, shaking, gasping sobs. Not because of anger. Not even because of betrayal. Because somewhere, buried under all the lies and broken promises, there was still love. Still a reason to fight. But it wasn't the love that needed fixing. It was the people. And if there was any road back, any hope for real healing, it had to start with the truth. No more lies. No more cover-ups. Just raw, painful, brutal honesty. Even if it tore us apart before it put us back together. 2 weeks after I got Ethan's letter, I agreed to meet the kids. Neutral ground, a small coffee shop halfway between my apartment and our old neighborhood. I got there early. Ordered a black coffee. Sat in the corner booth facing the door. My hands shook a little. Would they hate me for leaving? Would they expect everything to magically go back to normal? Or worse, would they be strangers to me now? When the door swung open, Ethan and Sophie stepped inside together. No Melissa. Just them. That alone, that tiny act of independence, was enough to loosen the knot in my chest. Ethan saw me first. He froze for half a second. Then walked over with Sophie close behind. They slid into the booth across from me, awkward and tentative. Hey, Ethan said, his voice breaking. Hey, I said. Sophie didn't say anything. Just stared at her chipped nail polish, blinking hard. For a while, none of us spoke. We just sat there, marinating in the awkward, painful truth that we were all different now. Finally, Ethan cleared his throat. I'm sorry, he said, the words raw and unpracticed. We messed up. I nodded. You were kids, I said quietly. You trusted your mom. You thought you were doing the right thing. But we hurt you, Sophie whispered, her voice cracking. We made you leave. You didn't make me leave, I said gently. Your mom's choices did that. You were caught in the middle of something you didn't create. Tears welled up in Sophie's eyes. She wiped them away furiously. I miss you, she said in a tiny voice. I miss you too, I said, my own throat tightening. But listen, I added, leaning forward, things are going to be different now. I'm not going to pretend nothing happened. I'm not going to lie to make it easier. They both nodded, eyes wide. You want me in your lives? I said. That means honesty. Even when it's ugly. Even when it hurts. Okay, Ethan said immediately. Promise, Sophie whispered. I reached across the table and took their hands in mine. It was a small thing. But it felt bigger than any grand apology. It felt real. We sat like that for a long time. 3 broken people trying to piece together something new. It wouldn't be easy. It wouldn't be perfect. But maybe, just maybe, it could be honest. And for the first time in a long, long time, that felt like enough. I didn't go back to Melissa. I didn't move back into that house. Instead, I built something new with my kids, smaller, humbler, but built on truth this time. Not lies. Not guilt. Not betrayal. Just love, the kind that survives even when the fairy tale burns to the ground. And if that's not a victory, I don't know what is.